Mahakumbh begins in UP. Around 15 million pilgrims take holy dip on the opening day of Prayagraj. Odisha signs MOU to join scheme. The Trump card and outcomes for world India. Interesting times ahead for global politics. Sinner, Alcaraz and Djokovic advance. Inflation fall to a 4-month low in December. Food inflation eased marginally to 8.4%, but critical items reported sharper price rise. Inflation for edible oils and fat hits 33-month high. India's retail inflation eased a bit to 4-month low of 5.22 in December from 5.5 in November, with food inflation cooling marginally from 9.04 in November to 8.4 last month. The National Statistics Office said on Monday. Overall consumer prices were 4.6% higher in December for urban residents compared to 4.9% in November, while rural consumers faced a steeper price rise of 5.8%, just marginally below the 5.95% recorded in November. While December's inflation print, India's consumer price inflation has averaged 5.63% in the third quarter of 2024-25, just as a tad under Reserve Bank of India projection of 5.7%. While the RBI expects inflation to cool to 4.5% in this quarter, the latest uptick gives it a little room to initiate interest rate cuts in early February monetary policy review. Even as the slowdown in growth has spurred sharp calls from the government industry to fast track reductions, while food inflation has also cooled to 4-month low, marking the second month of deceleration from October's 15th high of 10.9%. Some critical food items reported fast upticks in prices, including edible oils and fats, whose price rose at a 33-month high pace of 14.6%. At 86.7 rupee record sharpest slide in 2 years. In what proved to be a manic Monday for India's financial markets, the rupee recorded the sharpest slide in almost 2 years to close to 66 paise down against the US dollar at 86.7, while benchmark stock indices fell about 1.4 to 1.5 to hit their lowest level in over 7 months. A strengthening US dollar and rising crude oil prices in the global markets fueled the downturn for Indian currency and stocks, with small cap and mid cap indices also bleeding along with all sectoral gauges. The advanced decline ratio for shares listed on Bombay Stock Exchange hit 0.15 and the lowest since June 4, 2024. PM opens Zimora Tunnel in J&K, silent on statehood. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who inaugurated the strategic Zimora Tunnel in Sonmarg area of Gandarbal on Monday, remained non-committal on the timeline of restoration of statehood to Jammu and Kashmir. He said the new network of roads and railway lines in the Union Territory has bridged the distance between Jammu and Kashmir and Delhi. In response to Chief Minister Omar Abdullah's speech, where he referred to statehood demand, Mr. Modi remained silent on divulging any timeline. When Mr. Modi makes a promise, he fulfills it. Every time has its right time, right things will take time, he said. Amid freezing conditions, Mr. Modi inaugurated the state of the art 6.5-kilometer tunnel built at the cost of 2,700 crore. Mr. Modi said Zimora Tunnel and the upcoming Zojila Tunnel connecting Kashmir and Ladakh will ease the lives of people in Kargil and Leh. During snowfall, avalanches, and landslides, the road would get closed, hospitals cut off, and essentials difficult to access. However, life will become easy now for locals living here. We started work on the tunnel in 2015, and it's satisfying to inaugurate it. The tunnel will give new wings to tourism in Sonmarg. Meta CEO's claim on poll incorrect, says Vaishnav. Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav accused Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg for furthering misinformation with his characterization of Lok Sabha election as a loss for the incumbent government. Delhi High Court pulls up AAP government for delay in tabling, CAG reports. India summons Bangladesh onward defense border work. The Ministry of External Affairs on Monday summoned a head of mission at the High Commission of Bangladesh to convey that fencing works on the India-Bangladesh border were being carried out in accordance with all protocols and agreements. The conversion took place a day after Bangladesh Foreign Secretary Mohammad Jashimuddin expressed deep concern to Indian High Commissioner in Dhaka Pranay Verma about the construction work by the Border Security Force along the India-Bangladesh border. India reiterated its commitment to ensuring a crime-free border by effectively addressing the challenges of cross-border criminal activities, smuggling, movement of criminals and trafficking, barbed wire fencing, border lighting and installation of technical devices and cattle fences are measures for securing the border. The note was released after acting High Commissioner of Bangladesh to India Muhammad Nurul Islam met the Joint Secretary in charge of Bangladesh and Myanmar Division in the ministry Bisham at South Block. Kerala youth killed, relative injured fighting for Russian army, says family. No difference between PM and Kejriwal, says Rahul as he targets Congress India's ally. Parvesh giving cash liquor in New Delhi seat alleges Kejriwal. Modi attends Pongal Lohri festivities in city. CBI receives sanction to prosecute Jain in Gaft case. Nomination count at 15. Atishi misses deadline to file her papers today. Odisha signs MOU to join states part of Ayushman Bharat PMJ fold. West Bengal government admits labs ask CID to probe expired saline being administered. After years of resistance by the then ruling BJD, Manji-led BJP government will now implement scheme in convergence with Gop Bandhu Jan Arogya Yojana. After years of attempting to persuade the Naveen Patnaik-led Biju Janata Dal government to join the Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana, the centre has finally signed a memorandum of understanding with Odisha government with the Mohan Charan Manji-led government at the helm after the Bharatiya Janata Party swept to power in the eastern Indian state last year. Odisha has now become the latest state to implement the Ayushman Bharat scheme with National Health Authority to the Union Health Ministry and State's Health Department, inking an MOU on Monday for inclusion in the central scheme. The signing ceremony was presided over by Union Health Minister Jagat Prasad Nadda. BJD has consistently avoided implementing the scheme, arguing that Biju Swasth Kalyan Yojana, now replaced by the Gopbandhu Arjan Arogya Yojana, Gopal Bandhujan Arogya Yojana, offered better and broader health coverage. The state government had then implemented BSKY mobilizing its own resources. The BJP has turned the demand for adopting the Ayushman Bharat scheme into a major poll issue. According to the statement issued after the signing of the MOU, Ayushman Bharat PMJ will be implemented in convergence with the existing GHJY in Odisha. The West Bengal Health Department on Monday admitted a lapse and asserted that they will take strict action against anyone found guilty in the administration of expired saline at Midnapur Medical College. Center slammed for delay in naming airport after DB Patil. 612 arrested in Gujarat for dealing in illegal kite threads. Akali Dal faces an uphill comeback battle amid launch of Amritpal's party and rebel waiting to strike a blow. Even as Sukhbir Singh Badal's resignation of the Shiromani Akali Dal president has been accepted, a move that is being seen as a course correction bid to revive the century-old party, the task at hand could be arduous. 15 Kanyakumari fishermen detained near Diego Garcia. 15th fishermen who had ventured into the sea from Thiruvananthapuram fishing harbour near the Diego Garcia Island, part of British Indian Ocean Territory, on January 9 for allegedly crossing the maritime boundary. Sources said 8 of the fishermen were from Thuttur in Kanyakumari. They usually go deep sea fishing and return to the shore only after long haul. The fishermen had put out to sea on December 29, 2024. The news of the detention left the families of fishermen in the state of shock. They urged the district administration to intervene and secure the fishermen's release. Security snatched for raising issue of corruption. Former Union Minister and Muzaffarnagar MP Sanjeev Palyan on Monday alleged that UP police has taken away his security cover after he raised voice against their corrupt practices. A police officer who uses lyrics as weapon to win hearts. Peer Zahoor is inspired by the songs of Gulzar and Anand Bakshi. The most played wedding song in 2024, Kashmir remains Mr. Zahoor's Yambazar Yambarzal. The Yambarzal, which brings the energy of yesteryear Bollywood actor Shammi Kapoor to the screen, has already more than 1 million hits on YouTube. His song वो रूबरू खड़े हैं मगर फासले तो हैं for Yami Gautam and Vikrant Massey starrer Ginny Wade Sunny has already earned him accolades. Peer Zuhur, 50, Senior Superintendent of Police rank officer in Jammu and Kashmir Police. Displeasing names of 11 villages changed by MP CM in Shajapur. The Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Mohan Yadav has announced name change of 11 villages in Shajapur district of the state. The move comes just days after he changed the names of 3 villages in his home state of Ujjain. At an event in Shajapur Kala People Tehsil on Sunday, Mr. Yadav changed the names of villages Mohammadpur, Machanai to Mohanpur, Dhabla Husainpur to Dhabla Ram, Mohammadpur Pavadia to Rampur Pavadia, Khajuri Ahlad to Khajuri Ram, Hajipur to Hirapur, Nipania Hisamu Deen to Nipania Dev, Richdi Muradabad to Richdi, Khalilpur to Rampur, Ghatipur Mukhtiarpur to Ghati, Unchod to Unchawad, Sheikhpur Bongi to Awadpuri. When people raised concerns that certain names were displeasing, I felt it was my responsibility to address them. If there is no Muhammad in Muhammadpur Machnai, then why retain such a name? If there are Muslim residents, then they can keep their names, but if not, the names will be changed, Mr. Yadav said at the event. Earlier on January 5, the names of village Maulana Jahangirpur and Ganji Kheda in Ujjain district were changed to Vikramnagar, Jagdishpur and Chamunda Mata respectively. High Court orders fast-track trial in Badlapur assault case. The Bombay High Court ordered a fast-track trial in the Badlapur sexual assault case as 2 victims are young children. A male attendant had sexually assaulted the girls 4 and 5 inside the toilet of their school located in Badlapur area of Maharashtra Thane district in August last year. Russian ships reactor vessel to Kudankulam 6th unit. The 320-ton equipment was made at the plant of Atomash, the mechanical engineering division of Rosatom State Corporation. 4 steam generators for the unit to be shipped this year. The VVR 1000 megawatt electric reactor vessel for the 6th unit of Kudankulam nuclear power project is being transported to the construction site in Tirumalili district. The 320-ton equipment was made at the plant of Atomash Mechanical Engineering Division of Rostam State Corporation and shipped on the eve of 2025. Before shipping the vessel, the equipment was delivered by special motor transport to the Atomash plant Spire, where it was loaded onto the river vessel bound to the Novorossiysk seaport. Currently, 4 VVR 1000 megawatt reactors are being built at the KKNPP site according to the Russian design. Kudankulam nuclear power plant. The 2 units with a similar capacity have generating power since 2013 and 2016 respectively. The station is being designed, constructed and supplied with the equipment subdivisions of Rosatom's engineering division. Rosatom supplies fuel to KK and PP units throughout their life cycle. VVER 1000 megawatt electric reactors have been proving their reliability and efficiency for decades. Their operation in Russia and abroad has exceeded 2000 reactor years. Installations of this type have potential for long term use. In particular, reactor installations of this type can form the basis of nuclear power plants planned to be built in the Far East, according to official statement. Despite the confident position we have achieved in the nuclear world, we are not standing still. We are developing and making our work more perfect, both in terms of equipment design, ensuring unprecedented level of safety, in terms of and in terms of economic efficiency of our products. We are currently developing a reactor installation for a nuclear power plant, and with increased capacity, more modern operational properties, and improved technical and economic indicators for use in Russia and abroad. Puri Shankaracharya demands national status for Ganga Sagar. Wading into political waters, Puri Shankaracharya, Swami Nishchalasan Saraswati, who visited Ganga Sagar Mela on Monday, said the union government will only grant national status to the gathering on Sagar Island once the BJP comes to power in West Bengal. Indian Navy riders sets off 13-day bike rally to Ayodhya. 15 riders from Indian Navy embarked a 13-day 1600-kilometer motor rally from Vishakhapatnam to Ayodhya. The rally, named Dare Square, was flagged up at the Eastern Naval Command in Vishakhapatnam on Monday. This ride allows the armed forces to connect with local communities and motivate the youth to serve the nation by joining Indian Navy. One held for slashing udders and feet of cows in Bengaluru. Mysterious death, protest thought bid to exhume body. Anwar quits as MLA gets Trinamool post. AICC to review work of Karnataka leaders. Wayanad landslides study focus on debris flow. A recent study on devastating landslides in Wayanad in July 2024 has highlighted the need for improved disaster management strategies to mitigate risk in vulnerable areas. The research focuses on understanding the behavior of rapid debris flows that causes widespread destruction to communities living in steep mountainous regions. The collaborative study, involving the University of Kerala, Indian Institute of Science Education and Research Mohali, and University of Mississippi, published in the journal Nature Natural Hazards, tracks the flow of debris flow using advanced runout modeling. It reveals important findings about the speed, pressure, and material accumulation of such natural disasters. By mapping of intense dynamic activity, the study identifies regions with most at risk of damage. Experts say that these insights are essential for developing more effective disaster prevention strategies. Sajan Kumar KS, co-author of the study and assistant professor of geology at the University of Kerala, explains that creating detailed vulnerability maps which indicate where debris flow could travel could provide valuable guidance for future planning and mitigation efforts. He emphasizes that avoiding development in these high risk zones could reduce potential for destruction and loss of lives. All Kannadigas must rise against centre's discrimination, Chief Minister. Our Tax Our Right campaign called upon all Kannadigas to rise against discrimination, fighting for their rightful share. Allocation of 6,300 crore as tax share to Karnataka, which is lower than the several other states. Of this 1,73,000 crores allocated, Karnataka has been given mere 6,300 crore, a shocking drop from previous installments. Pilgrims throng Sabrimanal temple to witness Makara Villaku today. Today. The Travancore Devaswam Board anticipated around 1.5 lakh pilgrims at Sannidharnam at Makara Villaku festival on Tuesday. Rooster fights held in AP despite police warning. Farmer outfits set to meet again on January 18. High Court dismisses plea of Jayalalitha's legal heirs. Indians abroad. Absence of opportunities remains the main driver of migration. At the inauguration of 18th edition of Pravasi Bharati Divas last week, Prime Minister Narendra Modi described Indian diasporas as India's ambassadors to the world, having seamlessly assimilated into the local society, serving the community, and contributed to India's growth and prosperity. The strength of India origin community worldwide, over 35 million, about 15.85 million NRIs, and 1935 million, about 16 million NRIs and 20 million PIOs, who are foreign nationals, is their ability to adapt and thrive in different fields, including in politics, where Indian origin people have become leaders of 30 other countries, where they retain their Indian passports. The diaspora is known for distinguished services in many professional spheres. The Pravasi Bharatiya Divas purpose is to celebrate the success and discuss issues of importance. President Draupadi Murmu handed out 27 Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awards. The event, which was first held in 2003, is organized around January 9 when Mahatma Gandhi returned to India from South Africa in 1915. The latest event, held in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, brought more than 3,000 delegates from across 70 countries, with much of the focus on how the diaspora can help in developing India Viksit Bharat program. The achievements of the Indian diaspora are no matter a matter of pride for all Indians, but it is still important that the event is not limited to self-congratulatory or lottery exercise. The issues for the diaspora, particularly for those who are Indian nationals, are more acute now. The increase in far right populist governments, particularly in the West, is making visa and entry conditions for Indians more difficult, and it is important for the government to address such issues. Intractable global conflicts, especially in West Asia, where more than 9 million Indians live and work, are also putting lakhs of Indians in peril, and the PBD engagement would benefit from discussions between the community on how best to increase awareness and enhance safeguards for them. Given the broad spread of the diaspora, it is necessary to ensure that Indian ties with the diaspora to be inclusive, non-partisan on political issues. Recent actions by the government to deny or revoke OCI cards for those perceived to be critical of the government belie this necessity. Above all, it is important to acknowledge that one of the biggest drivers of Indians migrating is lack of economic opportunities within India. While there are no easy fixes for this, loss of India of some of its most talented people must be counted, even as the country celebrates their incredible success and impact on the global stage. Presidential reprieve. Despite the discharge, the US has to deal with a polarized Trump era. President-elect Donald Trump was handed an unconditional discharge in a felony case in New York, where he was earlier found guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business records to make $1.3 million, $1,30,000 in hush money payments to an adult film star over an alleged affair. Following his conviction last May, one of four criminal indictments that he faced at that time, Mr. Trump went on to win the November 2024 election and will be sworn into office on January 20, in accordance with the legal immunity for official acts that is offered to the office of President of the US. A position affirmed recently by the Supreme Court. Three indictments had not yet reached the stage of conviction, acquittal, or either dismissed or came at halt owing to the procedural complexities. His indictment for his role in instigating a mob attack on US Capitol and his indictment for mishandling classified documents discovered at his home in Florida after his 2020 election defeats were withdrawn by the special counsel Jack Smith because the Department of Justice forbids the federal indictment and subsequent criminal prosecution of a sitting president. Following the appeal to delay the sentencing, Supreme Court ruled that sentencing could proceed after the judge, Ron Merchant, said that he would hand down an unconditional discharge implying no jail time, monetary fine or probation, given that this would be the most viable solution in such unprecedented circumstances, other than facing the routine conditions on a ban of convicted felon owning guns and being required to provide the state of New York criminal database with a DNA sample. Mr. Trump has emerged unsacked from a legal quagmire prior to his 24 victory. The deeper questions that America will wrestle with, however, transcend these legal minutiae. They relate to the fact that Trump is 24 campaign and the MAGA movement more broadly remains polarizing. and there is near complete breakdown of bipartisanship within political circles as applicable to critical issues of social and economic policy, including the economy and jobs, reproductive rights, criminal justice system, and immigration reforms. Liberal and progressive Americans must understandably be hoping in the light of his comprehensive victory, leading to the federal government trifecta, and the Mr. Trump will strike a conciliatory note on the inauguration day and follow up that with more bipartisan approach to policy making in the 4 years ahead. The cost of not doing so appears to be high indeed. The Trump card, global politics and outcomes for India. Who is Donald Trump? Dissecting the psychology of next US president is a popular pastime. His bold, disinhibited speaking style, his outspokenness, his focus on deal making, his real estate background that defines his coercive leadership in politics, cast him very differently from his predecessors. He is a polarizing figure, wading constantly into controversy, stubbornly resilient, and a master of populist rhetoric, presenting himself as the voice of common people, arranged against out of touch political establishment. What is Mr. Trump's approach to rules based international order? We know that from his first presidency, he expounds an America First doctrine, he debunks multilateralism in global politics, and he trashes international agreements that he believes do not favor the United States. He prefers bilateral agreement over multilateral ones. Witness his approach to the Paris Climate Agreement, from which he withdrew and is likely to withdraw again, and to trade agreements such as Trans-Pacific Partnership. He is dismissive of international institutions like United Nations and such as North Atlantic Treaty Organization, saying that these disproportionately benefit other nations at the expense of the US. To the delight of his acolytes, he places American sovereignty over global governance. In the Trumpian worldview, strategy revolves around bully pulpit, a strong personal branding, and willingness to take risk, unconventional deal making, winner take all in place of win-win. Donald Trump's transactionalism is legend. His MAGA Make America Great Again policy will have implications influencing global geopolitics. This will entail a rise of protectionism in global trade. Free trade is an anachronism in his scheme of things, escalating tariffs and trade wars and increased economic uncertainty. Intensified competition with China, where Beijing is clearly framed as an economic and ideological adversary, will affect global stability, particularly in the Indo Pacific. Mr. Trump's skepticism about global institutions will inspire adventurism in global politics and nationalisms that override international law. Polarization in global politics will be increasingly in evidence, and debates on free trade, immigration, and globalization will become increasingly fractious. Climate policy and actions will be downgraded. Instability in global markets will affect nations, whether developed or developing across the board. The world is in for interesting and tumultuous times. American isolationism under MAGA has clearly signaled opposition to US direct involvement in external conflict. Since Mr. Trump has clearly signaled opposition to US direct involvement in external conflict, can encourage new powers such as China and Russia, already united in their opposition to the US's power and influence, to expand their global footprint using both economic and military means. MAGA could be synonymous with disruption beyond American shores and power realignments. Ties with India and the line for New Delhi. The strategic outlook for India-US relations under second Trump presidency is mixed. Relations between two countries have witnessed a steady evolution and multifaceted growth over the last 2 decades across partisan divides. The trend is expected to continue since the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Trump have warm friendship. India has stressed constructive engagement with the US and key strategic partner. India's growing geopolitical clout and mutual interest in countering China, particularly because of over-assertive Chinese military posture and transgressions across the line of actual control, provides a strong impetus for a growing strategic partnership. India US defense cooperation will continue to strengthen together with partnerships in critical technologies, provided the new administration does not use export controls at pressure points. And business. Trade frictions could, however, be a complicating factor. The countering of Chinese influence in the region by incoming US administration suggests that groupings such as Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, Quad, and US, Australia, India, and Japan, where India is an important constituent, will be strengthened. The maintenance of the balance of power in the Indo Pacific requires the continued involvement of the US, even though India is cautious about an over reliance on America and seeks to ensure its very own strategic autonomy. India's Indo Pacific vision stresses regional cooperation, multilateralism, and multipolarity. India would do well to continue to emphasize its own strategic priorities as shaped by history, geopolitics, national security, its economic interest, and civilizational identity. Its broader security, a strong defense posture, military modernization, intensified counter-terrorism efforts to strengthen our intelligence, anti-radicalization, and continued focus on fighting cross-border terrorism remain of central concern. The compulsion of economic growth is central to its strategic outlook. India's energy security, diversification of energy sources, building renewable energy, and maintenance of stable relationships with the key suppliers are vital. Peace and stability in South Asia are important, as also vigilance about containing and neutralizing destabilizes influences in the region. Particularly from China and Pakistan, security of the Indo-Pacific as a key maritime and economic passageway is a strategic priority. India's partnerships with Japan, Australia, and European Union and the ASEAN countries apart from the US are essential to the balancing of China's rise to ensure India's access to key technologies, to defense preparedness, and for its trade and economic development. Key for its strategic future are its digital transformation, space exploration, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity for its digital infrastructure, and building resilience against cyber threats from a hostile nation and non strategic actors. India's priorities should incorporate a deployment of soft power in an emphasis of democratic and constitutional values, pluralism, humanitarian engagement, and diaspora outreach. The relationship with Russia must continue to be in focus because of the complex and diversified nature of India's strategic partnership with that country, and because the counterweight it puts to the growing Sino Russian alignment in Eurasia and Indo Pacific. The reality of the second Trump presidency and Mr. Trump's victory in the elections indicate that established patterns of history and geopolitics that serve as guides to the future may no longer apply as positioning system for a global order that will instead be disruptive, polarized, and unstable. Global politics, all said, may be the same as the American analyst Ian Bremmer recently noted. A Z0 would world has arrived, and the law of the jungle may provide a new global playbook. Transforming mentalities, redefining masculinity. Another International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women passes by November 25. We face a stark truth. Despite decades of advocacy, nearly one of three women worldwide has endured violence at the hands of men. While men are often perpetrators, they can also be the key agents of change. Addressing violence against women requires addressing men's roles and questioning traditional roles, notions of masculinities based on strength, aggression, and control. These notions need to be replaced by a culture where equality and empathy, nonviolence define alternative notions of manhood. Violence against women can be seen paradoxically as a men's issue, societal issue that demands active engagement of men. From early childhood, boys are influenced by norms that tell them strength is dominance, that emotions are weakness, and that asserting control is a way to protect their status. These deeply entrenched ideas not only harm women but also limit men's lives and their relationships, trapping them in cycles of suppressed emotions and aggressive behaviors. Recognizing and reshaping these norms is essential for creating healthier relationships and a safer world. The subject of men and masculinities has become a prominent focus with the development sector. Over the past 2 decades, academic research and grassroots efforts have revealed the importance of engaging with men, highlighted strategies that work, and shown how men are increasingly stepping out to challenge the traditional gender norms. This growing shift reflects a recognition among men of their role in advancing gender equality. UNESCO India report UNESCO's Transforming Mentalities initiative has aimed to shift the way men engage with gender issues not just as allies but as active participants in social transformation. This initiative challenges rigid and stereotype ideas of masculinity, fosters positive supportive roles for men, engaging them as champions of gender equality. As we inch towards Agenda 2030, working towards creating an inclusive and equal world, UNESCO, in collaboration with International Center for Research on Women, is proud to present the report Engaging Men and Boys, a report on pathways to gender equality in India. This report documents 10 pioneering programs across India that engage men and boys to address gender equality. Though impactful initiatives, these programs encourage critical dialogues. For example, Mardo Waliba, The Men's Thing, is an initiative by the YP Foundation uses storytelling and social media to foster conversations around positive masculinities and young men on campuses and communities. This intervention helps young men critically examine the limiting narratives that they have grown up, empowering them to embrace values of respect and equality. Similarly, gender equity movement in schools, a collaboration between ICRW and Department of Education in the state of Rajasthan, uses interactive classroom activities to help adolescent boys to see the harm in toxic masculinity and adopt more equitable gender attitudes. In one session, a boy reflected, I used to think boys should only do outdoor chores. Now I believe we should work alongside women at home. The defining role of public figures change also become possible when men and boys have positive role models demonstrating equitable behavior. These initiatives underscore the importance of role models who actively participate in household and caregiving responsibilities, reject violence as a solution, practice empathy, embrace vulnerability. For example, Indian cricketer recently sparked a national conversation on shared parenting and responsibility by publicly committing to paternity leave. Actions such as these highlight how equitable relationships are rooted in care, respect, and partnership.